To note here that the Federal Housing Authority is currently self-funding agency of government, and it receives zero allocation from the national budget. However, each financial outlay is required to execute its core mandate of providing affordable housing to all categories of Nigerian nationwide. Basis of the budget estimate. The authority's budget estimates are largely based into internally generated revenue IGR, which are mostly one of the items of inflows in the line of generating assets, deposit by prospective housing subscribers on the ongoing projects, capital development levy from land allocation, and low-interest facilities. When we talk about low-interest facilities, we are talking about Murphy, and we are talking about the likes of Shetraf Afri. In the 2024 IGR budget performance, the performance of 2024 budget is presented in page 1, showing the main and the supplementary budget, the aggregate total, the actual performance, and the level of percentage achieved. The initial projected internally generated revenue IGR of our agency was 7.02 billion, which was achieved not by 100%, but by 118%. A good thank you to the committee as well. Even though we are not being funded, but this is what we contributed into the IGR of the economy. And at the end of the day, housing is key. We need funding, but you can see without funding, we have to pay 50%. For anything we generated through the TSA, 50% of our money is being taken away. But luckily, we wrote to the Ministry of Finance via our main ministry, and in December, we're giving a 20% discount to it. So right now in 2025, 30% will only be deducted from us. But that's what we contributed into the economy as far back as 2024.
Business loans. The budgeted figure for 2024 is 223 billion. Actual is 39.014 billion. And the budget proposal, so that's just the performance. So for NHF collections, budgeted was 162 billion, and the actual was 100.7 billion. Capital assets acquisition projected, budgeted was 4.8, and the actual was 1.4 billion. Equity, we had proposed 100 billion, which we expect to have received from the federal government. It didn't come in in the course of the year 2024. Income, the budgeted was 73.23 billion, while the actual was 70% in the sum of 51.13 billion. Its interest expense, 14 billion budgeted, actual 11.7 billion. Recurrent expenditure, 29 billion budgeted in 2024, actually 20 billion. The detail
1.2 billion naira in 3 locations. The first one is the flagship housing project of the current administration, which we lent to the developer the sum of 10 billion naira, and they are building 288 units with full infrastructure, which we hope will be completed pretty soon. Then we've also commenced the financing of 2 student housing projects in 2 different locations in the country. So that's the long and short of what we did last year with internally generated funds from repayments from our current obligations. For this year, 2025, we are aware that there is a similar proposal of 7 billion naira to be funding allocation to the Family Homes Funds Limited. What we plan to do with that is to raise an additional sum of 9 billion naira from the capital market, riding on our current standing in the financial market. And then with that, we can fund some additional projects across the country. So we have 3 projects that are advanced in negotiations. We are very happy with how we proceeded. So that is the idea, that is the expectation. By the time we get the funding from the federal government and then we raise additional counterpart from the capital markets, we will fund these particular projects.
The ones I can say privately, I will say it. The ones I can say publicly, I will say it. The ones that will require me to go and see him, I will go and see him. And maybe on this matter, I will go personally and see the president. Permanent Secretary, you spoke about all these agencies. And the impression you try to create is that the aggregate of what will come out of each one of these entities will make up for whatever target that you set up. Where's the money in FHA? How much have you given FHA? From the little they raise, you are on their neck to take away 30% Fiscal Responsibility Act. Now it's even 50% you want to take. Where's the money? There's no money for FHA to build any house. So the target that you are setting for social housing will fail. So it amounts to like deceiving the president. That's it. The poor man is somewhere thinking that he's built a vision. But again, somehow, things are not going right when it comes to implementation. It's not rocket science. That is why I said to you, how do you intend to achieve the whole of that? So you spoke about Federal Mortgage Bank. Since when have we been talking about recapitalization? Federal Mortgage Bank. Where is the recapitalization? Zero. So what are you expecting from Federal Mortgage Bank? You will not get it. Family Homes Fund. How much did you put now? 7 billion. The more money you put for them, the more capacity they have to borrow more to combine and be able to do it. So with all the efforts that they are putting in, let me tell you something, and you know I'm on record. Let Nigerians know with the present arrangement, we will not achieve what the president expects us to achieve at the end of the year. At the end of last year, we did not achieve even close to what the president thought. But it appears that the president is being misinformed. And people will now go criticizing the president, the innocent man, everywhere, when he set out the vision and he's given all the necessary backing. In the course of implementation, you have problems, you have issues. How can you put 80 billion on housing? Put money, FHA, pump money into FHA, pump money into Morphe, recapitalize Federal Mortgage Bank. What are they looking for? 500 billion recapitalization. Give them. Family Homes Fund. How much do we used to put when we were in the... In fact, I started it when I was chairman of appropriation 10 years ago. We were putting about 100 billion, right? To enable you to raise more. Now you're giving them 7 billion. And you are talking about that you are going to achieve everything. We are not being realistic about that. Please, I beg of you to go sit with the minister. Something needs to be done ASAP. And you know everybody that knows me, once I take up a matter, I will not drop this matter. Because I love the president. And I love this government. And I want this government to succeed. The housing sector must get the required funding that it deserves to be able to perform. We are not asking to get everything. But when I look at the allocation of fund in the budget as a former chairman of appropriations, I've seen money elsewhere that should not be where it is. I've seen money elsewhere that should be in the housing sector. I've been chairman of finance, I've been chairman of appropriations. So I'm talking from an informed perspective. So that's why when I made my comment, I said, I want to take it that it is an oversight because we are all human.